Thank you very much for tuning in to today's Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, and today I'm joined by LENA Elizabeth. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. In the run-up to your album release, which is actually a dual album release with Sister Species, so doubly exciting, at the Cedar Cultural Centre, which is extremely exciting.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to have a show there, so I'm very excited.
And now you have a show there Thursday after Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 29th. We can hear the very beginning of the record, Get It Right. We can't, but they can. They can hear the very beginning of the record, Get It Right, behind our conversation at the moment. This is Loaded Gun. This is the opening track, Loaded Gun. I like that it begins with the declaration, invitation, imperative, lay your rifle down. It's a really intriguing way to start, I think.
I really love that part of the song as it comes from the bridge.
Yes.
So originally we didn't actually have that kind of intro. We ended up doing that around the time that a few of the shootings happened.
Yeah.
That bridge kind of spoke to me in those moments
Was it called Loaded Gun?
Yeah, it was called Loaded Gun. So originally this song is about infidelity and kind of a toxic relationship, and but also like some violence in a relationship, and I kind of took that bridge that I already had and it kind of took on another meaning as well.
In the title track, Get It Right, there is a reference to chasing and to no longer chasing.
Yep.
What do you want me to do? I'm done chasing after you, becomes the lyric in the title track. Whereas as the scene is being set, perhaps actually with the initial opening lyrics, if the bridge at the beginning was added later, I've been chasing you all around town till I find what's holding you down. So it seems to me like the track listing the sequencing is important.
It is important, yes.
So is there a significance to that shift from like, I've been chasing you to, I'm not chasing you anymore?
Somewhat, yes. I would say in the beginning of the album, I'm talking a lot about toxic relationships or things that are, or just like anxieties within myself.
Yeah.
And then with Get It Right, I'm addressing not only relationships that I've had, where the verses sound very much like I'm talking to someone else. I'm talking to like a friend or like some kind of toxic relationship. And I realized when I was writing it that I was very much talking to somebody else, but in the reflection of those relationships, I realized that I was really talking to myself.
So the giving advice to get it right
was
initially to someone else, but kind of you discovered it's good advice for you.
It was definitely like, especially once I got to the bridge, which is, I don't want to stay awake. I don't want to play these games. I don't want to hate the way that you do. That one is very much towards myself and the kind of self-doubt and anxieties that I have, and just kind of addressing that person who, that voice inside of you that's telling you that you're not enough, or that you're, having these unrealistic high expectations for yourself. Yeah. And kind of just addressing that and being like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to accept the way I am. And
you use the word accept. I've been reading the book Radical Acceptance, and it just sounds a lot like that. Radically accepting just where one is at, what one's thoughts and feelings are. Definitely. And unless one does that, they're not going to go away.
Exactly.
So one will be kind of a slave to them, or unless one kind of accepts them.
Definitely.
I wonder whether this is intentional, that there is a shift from the original opening lyrics in A Loaded Gun. I wait for you, I've been lying awake for you, I've been lying awake for you, becomes, by the end of the title track, I don't want to stay awake, and I don't want to play these games. So it's almost as if at the beginning you're catching yourself in a position like that, and then this desire to not be in a position like that has been cultivated, enabling the getting it right.
So it's definitely kind of going from those toxic relationships, but also the kind of toxic feelings you have towards yourself, which is, I think that the relationships that you have with other people are definitely reflective of how you treat yourself.
Yeah, oneself is maybe the hardest person to be entirely truthful with, because we like to tell stories where we present ourselves in a certain light, or stories where we present other people maybe in a positive light or a negative light. To what extent is managing to get beyond the stories that we initially feel compelled to tell about ourselves and others, to what extent is that a part of this process of getting it right, do you think? Calm the feeling down. Want to get it right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're trying to establish a kind of peace and self-awareness.
Yep.
Could you just expand a bit more on that process? And are there any ways in which that's like sonically as well as lyrically working its way into the record?
Definitely. I would say that for especially the chorus in Get It Right, I'm really addressing myself in a way where I'm kind of trying to let myself breathe all those like anxieties that I have with myself, and kind of being like, you need to calm everything down, and really look at yourself with love, because I'm not going to be able to, live the life that I want to or get it right until I kind of accept myself for who I am.
Are there any particular songs on the record where this process of getting better at loving oneself is the central focus?
I would say, yeah, I think that it goes through kind of levels of that. I would say that Nobody Wants You is kind of that moment of kind of feeling the anger of I don't know, there's also things in Dementia as well, where I'm feeling like it's a lot of Dementia is basically like a panic attack in a song.
Yes, it does a good job of capturing that. Yeah.
So I think there's at least at the end of the song, it's kind of like realizing, it's like coming down from that, all those anxieties of I don't know who I am, I don't know who these people are in my life, and I don't know what I'm doing, and then kind of coming to a point where it's like, oh, I realize that I see you, who you are to me, and then I kind of come out of it.
I think there's a really interesting trajectory from Crazy For You through Dementia, both dealing with mental health, I think. Home shows up in both of those songs. I Wanted You Gone, I Needed You Home is a really interesting oscillation and kind of paradox.
Kind of
both of these things are simultaneously true. Exactly, yeah. But then maybe by the end of the song Dementia, it's a record of having figured out what one's deepest feelings and thoughts are regarding each person.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say that there's this journey from these coexisting, conflicting thoughts about specific people to getting it right? What is this person for me? By kind of the middle of the record. Is that going on?
Yeah, I would say that there's kind of like this journey to find home, and I think that home throughout this, I feel like home is more of a feeling than it is a place.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on this journey of, in the beginning of the album, I'm talking a lot about the toxic relationships in my life.
Yes.
And then I'm delving more into myself.
Yes.
And my own relationship with me.
Yeah, being at home with yourself.
Exactly. And
seems to be the most important thing.
Yes, definitely. And that's the journey from the beginning is like, I'm very focused on these relationships that are very toxic, and the world around me that can be very toxic, and Nobody Wants You.
Yeah.
And then getting into the just toxicity in my own head and my own kind of self-hatred. And then you get it right, and that's where I finally like address all of those things. I feel like Get It Right is the song where I finally find home in myself.
In the middle, it's nice and it's centered.
Yes, definitely. And then that's very purposeful, where it's like, because first I find home with myself, and my own confidence in myself, and then I move on to Love Me So is a little bit more like exploring other relationships, and that is
It's the song immediately after Get It Right.
Immediately after Get It Right. And I think that that's more of like an exploratory song where it's very pretty much bluntly about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
And
there need to be songs about sex.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a few. But I think it's kind of the exploring different relationships after I finally come to terms with myself and accepted myself for who I am. And that's the only time really to start diving into a new relationship.
Absolutely. And, diving in is appropriate because there's water metaphor.
Yep.
So you have to ground yourself, and then suddenly we can dive in the water. Yep. It's interesting that there is this shift there from the earth, because we were touching the earth at the beginning of the record. Once I put the gun down, lay your hands on the ground. And then here, I've tasted the forbidden fruit, unearthed me from my heavy roots. So the metaphor of the tree here, and getting the tree right, pruning the tree, working out like how well rooted this tree is.
Yeah.
Can we extend this, think a little more about that, these kind of grounding, earthy metaphors, and the relation of them to self-love and becoming grounded and rooted in the reality that is conducive to one's well-being.
Yeah.
And the fact that in this song, as soon as that imagery occurs, then we're sinking and we're diving in. Suddenly there's this shift. Now it's safe to become fluid.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you expand a bit more on that?
Yeah, in the earlier part of the album, I'm very guarded.
Yes.
I'm kind of in a place where I don't trust people, or I am angry about something, or I'm in a state of panic or anxiety. Then that's kind of all the beginning. And then I feel like that's more of, after Get It Right, then I'm just kind of letting go.
It's interesting that when the getting it right is occurring, like, you're also putting down something.
Yeah.
And we do, if we feel attacked or at risk, we shield ourselves and we kind of build up this artillery for good reason.
Definitely.
Given that the getting it right is, there's some achievement of that in the middle of the record. Situations like in Nobody Wants You will still exist after the middle of the record. Definitely. So nobody wants the guy at the bar, who is coming up, baby, how long have you been coming here? He hisses, whispers in my ear, hey little lady, are you all alone? Why won't you let me take you home? Home there, obviously, his idea of home, the home in that sentence is not the grounded home with oneself. It's the opposite of it. Yes. So, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So what happens in the second half of the record then? The balancing between recognizing the, how it assists one's well-being to lay stuff down, to put down one's own metaphorical loaded gun, whilst also remaining sane.
Yep. Yeah, I think that, especially with Nobody Wants You, that's a song that I'm probably one of the songs I'm most proud of.
Yeah, you should be.
I just remember writing that song, and it was. Can I tell a story about it?
Yes, you can. Please. Yes. We love stories.
I think that song, there is so much anger in that song.
Yeah.
And
warranted anger.
Yeah, and it was. I think that. It was so therapeutic to write that song. I actually ended up writing it after, so the second verse said he'd make me breakfast if I came in and stayed. So that is actually what inspired the song. And I was walking to the bus in the morning, and I had my headphones in, and it was like 10 a.m. It was like a busy street, I was close to my house, and it felt like a time of day and a place where I should feel safe. And I was just walking to the bus, and this guy approached me, and he looked, like a friendly person. He was smiling, and so I took out my headphones thinking he was maybe asking me for directions or something like that. And I took out my headphones, and he proceeded to say something about my body, and then asked me, and told me that if I came in, that he would make me breakfast in the morning. And I just remember feeling, I kind of immediately was aware of my surroundings, like there was nobody around all of a sudden, and there were no cars, and there was this, and he was a big guy, and it was the way that he said it where it was very like, he was so confident about how he said it, and it was like it was something that you could tell he felt confident saying at any point in time, like it was a normal thing that he would say to somebody. Because I was in this place where I felt unsafe all of a sudden. I said, no thanks, sorry. And I think, and I felt so angry as I walked away, because I knew that for myself, I knew that I needed to make him feel I wanted to make him feel comfortable for my own safety.
Yeah. And so you felt angry at the situation for having said sorry. Yes.
Well, and it was just because I didn't want anything to escalate. I didn't want it, because I was by myself, and I had my headphones in. I had it was all these stupid little things that I feel, and it's just it was a little situation. It was not like nothing happened, nothing, but it was one of those moments where like all those things that happen throughout the day, that happen to women on a regular basis, just walking to the bus, that make us feel unsafe. And it's pretty much this whole entire song is about my own personal situations where these things have happened to me, where I feel unsafe and feeling so angry that that I have to feel that way, and I have to be on guard, because I don't want to assume the worst of everyone around me. I want to assume that somebody's just asking me for directions, and I want to, but it's just that anger of just being in the society we live in.
Anger at a situation where these two different ways of getting it right are truly at odds with one another, where you, out of concern for your safety, you feel compelled to say sorry, and that is looking out for yourself. Yeah. But by saying sorry, that's something that has this greater impact.
And I think that nobody, throughout the album, I'm talking about, it's kind of about your own self-discovery, and also like saying no, which is part of, but also I'm saying no in this song to also like my own inner voices of, I'm not good enough, or things like that. In that situation, I wanted to be angry, and I couldn't be for my own safety. And it's just like, so that one was very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's a song that people will identify with. It's definitely a different tone in the album, because I can't change that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't change the world we live in that way. It's like that's going to happen. I think that there are definitely songs throughout the album where it's like, these are still important things that are happening in my life that are affecting me. But I can't necessarily change these things. But I am angry about these things. So I think Nobody Wants You is like that. I think that Wasted is like that.
Yeah.
I think that, so I still have these moments in the album where, there's a lot of direct anger.
Yeah. Which is owned and celebrated.
Yeah.
Part of getting it right. Given that you are getting it right and producing something that you're very proud of with Nobody Wants You, what is the significance of it being where it is in the sequencing near the beginning?
I think I wanted it to be close to the beginning, but also I think it worked well with Loaded Gun and Crazy for You, which are about toxic relationships, infidelity, and then Crazy for You being kind of about the guy who, ghosts you and, is kind of like this hot and cold relationship. And then going into... which drives one crazy. Exactly,
and this song does a really good job, a very good job indeed of kind of dramatizing, reenacting that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think that it just worked well after that to kind of go into something that was kind of outside, definitely outside of a relationship view. Where
in
it's
Nobody
like,
Wants You.
Yeah, and kind of, but still in this, has the same tone, I would say, of just kind of anger and confusion.
There's a great emotional intelligence to Nobody Wants You and to the record as a whole. On the one hand, there is this kind of radical acceptance of the scenario, what all of the factors are, of the fact that you don't end up angry at yourself for having said sorry, because there is this true awareness of the, again, like the impossibility, like you'd like reality to be such that you didn't have to say.
Exactly, and I don't really address that part of it in the song. I mostly just talk about, like, because I wanted the song to be like exactly what I wanted to say.
Yes.
So there are a lot of situations where I don't get to say what I want to say. I would say
but
that.
But your song is one that you do.
And I think I use that because I think that those situations happen a lot at shows as
they
well.
do. Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like that's the moment on stage where I can be like, I see you. And I have seen people in crowds before when I sing that song that are visibly uncomfortable. And there are moments in that song where, especially at the bridge with I Said No, that I think that everybody, there's like this visible and like internal discomfort for most people when they, but it's powerful, and it's something that I needed to really write.
Yeah.
And it's therapeutic for me to sing as well, but I think that it also is triggering for some people. But also during the choruses, sometimes I feel like I've seen people leave during that song. It feels good to me to make people feel uncomfortable in that way, because these are things that need to be said.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
what is the relationship between the creation of that discomfort, the necessary leaning into that discomfort, and the quest for the home, the kind of sense of being at peace with oneself, that comfortable sense.
Yeah, you need to address those very uncomfortable things, and I think addressing but also confronting those things is really important to feeling safe with yourself and in the world around you. I think that calling out those things is definitely a process in that kind of search for home.
Doing these things, so in the social context, creating, doing, saying things that will lead to discomfort, that might seem like they might damage connections. That ends up being what is necessary to form the truer connection with oneself and with others.
I think so, yeah. And I think that confronting those situations also brings a deeper connection with other people around you, because I've just laid it all out there in that song and have exposed situations in my life that are very personal. But I think in doing that, in being open about those things, it leaves space for other people to be more open about it and to feel safe.
I really like the focus on, why can't we be birds of a feather and flock together? That's not a rhetorical question.
No.
That's a real question.
Yeah, I think.
Can we be birds of a feather and flock together? If not, why not? If so, what needs to happen?
Yeah, and I think, and that's the second verse in Get It Right. The kind of why can't we be birds of a feather and flock together? I think that was definitely me talking to the voice inside myself that's just kind of like, you're not good enough, or you're not, you could be so much better than this, or you could,
Why can't the different parts of me flock together?
Exactly, I think all the, accepting the different parts of myself.
Thinking about the relationship between being at home with oneself and then kind of creating a home with others, like the kind of the one's flock, and then the flock that is the different components of oneself that need to kind of synchronize a little bit more. I like the idea that when one, again, kind of leans into the discomfort and really commits to getting it right first and foremost as an individual. This idea that focus on the self can lead to the formation of a flock of kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Because a flock of birds, there is no leader of the flock of birds. So metaphorically, if the different components of oneself
Are not aligned.
yeah, can be aligned without there being one, like the rational self, like just like trying to knock the emotions in line or something, and the emotions are given their space as well. And then if that's happening, then perhaps it does increase the hope of that happening between oneself and others too.
Definitely.
Of there being this more reciprocal, respectful, graceful interaction.
Yeah, definitely. I think finding peace in oneself and kind of accepting all the different parts of yourself are very important in finding good relationships with other people, because you need to have a good relationship with yourself before you can have successful friendships or relationships. And yeah, I think that's really what Get It Right is all about. And that's why I wanted it in the middle as well, because in the end of the song, I feel like I am still kind of sorting through my own personal relationships with my own family, but I'm also getting to a place in Always where I feel like I'm finding home in another person. I think Get It Right is still like, that's the moment where I'm focusing solely on myself. I've said I've struggled with anxiety and things like that, and I've struggled with that my whole life. I struggled with an eating disorder as well, and I think that anybody who's struggled with either an addiction or an eating disorder, there's definitely this other person. That was me really like focusing on that other part of myself and saying I didn't want that person anymore. That part of me I needed to just go.
The awareness of and the cultivation of that desire seems to be really important. Really feeling and knowing the truth that I don't want to stay awake. Yeah, I don't want to. And then,
hate the way you do, and that's like the big moment there where it's like I don't want to hate myself anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I just want to be calm with feeling down and get it right and just be me.
And the more strongly you don't want to hate and the more strongly you desire to not hate, one finds oneself loving oneself more as one stands up for oneself.
And able to love other people.
And able to be able to not hate other people as well.
Absolutely, yeah.